Max Power video on budgeting. I'd like to show you the budget worksheet. It's a Microsoft Excel macro driven program. But here it asks you for the quoter's names, which you can do, enter an input there of a person that's your sales agent. After that, if you enter something into this field, it will populate a commission structure, so that was the purpose of that. We're going to leave it blank. It will then bring you to a statement as far as who's doing the work, and we'll say it's for customer A, B, C, and we're going to say this first name is Mike, last name is Standards. So here's our initial quote, blank. If we go into a job description, such as add in a string of batteries, if you add a string of MS Endure 1500s with a voltage drop of 0.2 for a 600 amp drain for a 25-foot distance to the battery plant, so that'd be a 50-foot loop drop. All you need to do is plug in that one variable, go back to the quote. Takes a few seconds for the calculations to take place, but there you can see the details of the quote with just one line item. If you'd like to see a more robust breakout, you can go into, here's a breakout based on engineering, materials, logistics services, and field services. If you want to see a detailed bill of materials for that individual work task, you then can click on the DBOM tab, and then the sheet opens up for the detailed bill of materials, and it then breaks out every line item with the individual price, the manufacturer, the part number, the standard lead time. All this goes into determining what the key deliverables will be as far as milestones and what the ready for service date would be, so all the expectations are up front. You then can go into the QW if you really want to drill down into some gory detail. And you can scroll down to the very bottom and see how all this project is rolled up. In this particular case, this project defaulted to a 12.85 margin, which is very low. The field service margin is typically around 50 points, which in this particular job it's right now at 43.38. And the materials budget is about 8.6% margin, which is typical. Professional services, which would be your engineering, procurement, logistics services, inside delivery, freight, truck drivers, project managers, quality people, all of those folks would fit into that group right there. So that would be the way that the job would be broken out. If you want to modify the number, you can see right now that we have a crew size or calculated field service working days of 2 days, total field service labor hours is 41. As a result of that, we need a 3-person crew. If we wanted to change that crew size, we then go back to the expect page, go to this yellow field, and we then can enter a larger number of days, which maybe we want to put 5 days, and go back to the QW field, hit your F9 to recalculate everything, and you can see the crew size now has gone down to 2. And what that also does is modify your cost structure slightly, so you sometimes get a cheaper price or a different margin. If you want to modify margins on a project, there's a lot of ways to go about that. One of the easiest certainly is to increase your money on your margin So just going 55 points is the nicest, because that way you keep all of your budget straight as far as hours and number of hours to be expected. The idea here is to make sure you give out budgets that the field service as well as project managers and engineers will all buy into. You don't want to have anyone sitting around saying, hey, you know what, I got this crazy budget, I can't even live up to it, all because you're trying to make some sort of number. So it's always easier, if you have to get to a number, to decrease your margin, leave your budgeted hours alone. Otherwise, people won't buy into the budget and nobody makes any money anyway. So we go back to the quote. We then see how the details are broken up for engineering, materials, logistics services, which would be your freight, and then field services, the folks that install the equipment. The work tasks are blank, but in this particular case we'll say installing a string of batteries, one 24 cell negative 48 volt DC HD 1500s. And as you can see, that's the way you do a quote. There's your detailed bill of materials, there's your quote, and as we talked about earlier, here is your what we call the QW tab, which is your quote workbook, and this is how the project really details out. You see different colored fields in the QW. The reason for that is all the fields that are in white, that basically defines all of your project accounting codes. So like if you have an AdPack or if you have a Timberline or one of those type of systems, you'd be able to dump this directly into that, or PeopleSoft. And then if you have a project management system like Primavera or one of those type of systems, I know the more advanced Microsoft Project allows you to do some different things. You can now baseline your budgets, so you don't need people to go around and establish initial baseline budgets. You now can dump this once the quote is established and everyone buys off on it. And you always have a sign-off process to make sure that everybody, in particular the people that are owners of the company, buy into the budget and make sure that they want to take the risk for the project. Anyway, that's the Budget Model Workbook, also known as the BMW. Thanks.